My hypothesis entering into this experiment was that I could increase my self-discipline by at least 50%. But of course, self-discipline is a very subjective construct. So how would it be possible to objectively measure self-discipline? Well, this is where the vacation concept came into play. Since I had been on a practically identical vacation in 2011, I could use that vacation as my control for the 2014 vacation. 2011 was a vacation that I had experienced using the usual or the default way of trying to exercise some self-discipline, which at that time was literally just saying to myself, I'm going to be self-disciplined on this vacation. So this would serve as the perfect control for my experiment. So in order to make it as objective as I could, all I had to do was to isolate some events that occurred in 2011 and then measure them against the events that would occur in my experiment in the 2014 vacation. Now, in 2011, I had planned on working out every day. I took my bike, just as I did on this most recent vacation. I had every intention of getting up every morning and going for a ride on both vacations. In 2011, I rode my bike 3 of the 10 days. In 2014, I was 10 of 10. In 2011, I experienced heartburn on at least 8 of the 10 days. That's something you just don't forget. I know I went through a large bottle of Rolaids, that's for sure. In 2014, I had heartburn 0 times. So in that category, I was 10 for 10. In 2011, I would have to say I overate and overdrank every single day. It happened on day 1 and went downhill from then. In 2014, there was only 1 day that I ate or drank more than I intended. So in that category, I was clearly 9 out of 10. In 2011, I got up at the time I had planned on getting up only about 3 out of 10 times. In 2014, I was 10 for 10. My goal in 2014 was to be in bed by midnight and up at 6 a.m. I wanted to spend only 6 of every 24 hours sleeping and enjoy the other 18 hours doing fun stuff and feeling great doing it. Hitting that 10 out of 10 was simply awesome. In 2011, I paid no attention at all to my caloric intake, even though I had intended to. In 2014, I did it for 8 out of 10 days, tracked my intake accurately. We went out a couple of nights to eat, and I simply lost track those days. So running those numbers and doing the percentages, I estimate I had a 78% improvement. I clearly exceeded the 50% improvement that I had hypothesized I would experience. Now, subjective measurements are a bit more tricky. Those are ones that you can't exactly measure in any way. Here are some examples of a subjective measurement. I would have these thoughts pop into my head that would go something like this. Just go ahead and grab another beer. Everyone else is drinking a beer. But then my mind would immediately shift to thinking about getting a good night's sleep, waking up feeling refreshed and rested after 6 hours, and having a great workout in the morning. And this time, that second idea completely dwarfed the first one, and I would go and grab an ice water instead. I would actually hear myself mentally reasoning that I had had plenty and I really didn't need or want any more. That was completely different from ever before. My self-discipline thoughts were clearly dominating the field in my brain. I would walk past a plate of cookies or brownies in the kitchen on my way to grab an ice water, and I would actually hear my brain loud and clear say, nope, you've had plenty of calories for the day, you would only be eating those for fun. And self-discipline is much more fun. Instead of feeling like I was depriving myself of something, I actually felt like I was treating myself to something more enjoyable. I would think about how good I was going to feel at 6 a.m. and how good that bike ride was going to be. And that would easily give me the momentum to just walk right on by the plate of cookies. These were the thoughts that I had been practicing on the tape, and now here they were, popping up in my brain right when I needed them the most. Now, granted, subjective measurements normally have no place in a research experiment, but again, it's the best I can do on my budget. Now, if I had had the use of a functional MRI machine, I believe I could prove that prior to the experiment, the circuits that housed these new ideas, the ones on my tape, were relatively weak in comparison to the default circuits that were already there. And had I then been hooked up to that portable MRI machine while I was walking through the kitchen and passing the cookies, I'm quite certain I could prove that this new circuit, the one I had built with my practice tape, was firing much stronger than the old one, literally dominating the field and muting any signals coming from the old default circuit. Of course, I didn't have access to a functional MRI, and it isn't likely to be any time soon in my budget. So, taking my word for it is the best I can do at this point. Or, there's something you can do. If you're willing to invest 10 hours of your time to create this experiment yourself, you can prove it to yourself, one way or the other, whether it really works. 10 hours is a pretty small price to pay for a lifetime of thinking and living in more self-disciplined ways. So if you're interested in running the experiment yourself, please contact me. I'm looking for volunteers to train and to participate in this ongoing research.